right, look, I got to rush here because there's lots to do, and I'm running out of time.
What difference at this point does it make?
I suppose it doesn't, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. Ladies and gentlemen.
What they doing?
Yes.
Smiling in your face.
Religion of peace. Heads up.
Smiling face. Sometimes it's smiling in your face.
All right. Let's see. Where do we start here? I got to queue up a soundbite. Hold on a second. You folks talk among yourselves while I do this. There it is. All right. Now, this is from Pajamas Media. Barry Rubin writes, and by the way, make no mistake about it, our government is infiltrated through and through like Swiss cheese with the Muslim Brotherhood, all in the name of political correctness and a common hatred for America and Western civilization shared by our current administration. You remember when Michelle Bachmann and a couple of others came out and said that Uma, whatever her name is connected through her family to the Muslim Brotherhood? You know, Uma, the one closest to Hillary? Yeah. And, everybody, John McCain. Oh, it's despicable. Why? She is. When it came to light that Egypt's new president had made blatantly anti-Semitic remarks in the Western context today, they could be called racist, actually, when you think about it. Being Jewish is not a race, and then again, being Islamic is not a race either. But it finally became necessary for the U.S. government to reluctantly and grudgingly remark on these statements through the medium of spokesperson Jay Carney. By the way, this also occurred only after the New York Times covered the story, putting Mr. Morsi in the most apologetic light. A State Department statement said that Morsi, he's the big cheese in Egypt and former head of I guess he still is, the Muslim Brotherhood. Morsi is now saying that he is against intolerance. And the New York Times said that was an important first step. And they expected him to show that he believes in religious tolerance. Well, folks, I don't really see any religious tolerance coming from Mr. Morsi. Says Barry Rubin, as I've been writing for about 30 years, the Muslim Brotherhood has always talked this way, as does Hamas, Hezbollah, the Ba'ath Party, the Iranian regime, and many, though not all, Arab intellectuals, politicians, and journalists of living memory. In fact, already another Morsi statement has surfaced. We must nurse the children on hatred toward Jews. Note that he didn't add, until I become president, and then we can start teaching them to live in peace with others of different faiths. He didn't add that, right? Well, it isn't just pathetic, but it's also strange that educated Europeans and North Americans who are eager to destroy the career of anybody who's ever uttered a single sentence that was or can be portrayed as hate speech would accept those who issue whole reams of the stuff. You know, really, Europe and the U.S. really hasn't changed much since Neville Chamberlain. At least Europe hasn't. Anyway, what is truly ridiculous about this kind of controversy is the outrage or apologies over one statement. Morsi and the Muslim Brotherhood leadership, including leading figures in the ruling party, have made hundreds of radical statements, and they're either ignored or explained away as insignificant. Here's just a few from the very top of the organization. Kairat el-Shatter, the Brotherhood's Deputy General Guide, said in April of 2012, "Our main and overall mission as Muslim brothers is to empower God's religion on earth and to establish the subjugation of people to God on earth." Well, nothing radical there, you know. And then there's Muhammad Badi, the Brotherhood's head, who explained in September of 2010, in a speech which virtually announced the launching of the revolution to overthrow the Mubarak regime, he said, the factors that lead to the collapse of the United States are much more powerful than those that led to the collapse of the Soviet Empire. The United States is now experiencing the beginning of its end and is heading toward its demise. So, yeah, and that's... Okay, yet people who point to the Brotherhood's radical history and their extremist statements and intolerant behavior, they're ridiculed. Remember Michelle Bachmann and the others? We aren't even hearing a pragmatic-sounding argument. Of course, these people are extremist, totalitarian, anti-American, but we have to deal with them. No, what we're hearing instead is, well, they really aren't extremist or totalitarian or anti-American, and we prefer to deal with them because they're moderate and a bulwark against the rest of Islam, the Salafists. Well, all three of the top foreign policy appointments just made by President Obama, John Kerry as Secretary of State, taking time out from trashing Vietnam veterans, Chuck Hagel, Secretary of Defense, whose foreign policy is indistinguishable from Cindy Sheehan, and John Brennan, CIA Director, who thinks that jihad is a personal struggle. The main problem with the White House response is not that it's too weak, but that it deals with calling Jews the offspring of pigs and monkeys against whom eternal war must be waged as an entirely isolated statement, completely separate from any policy consideration. They just didn't mean it. We insist. It's like, I guess it's like World War II. People read Hitler's book and said, oh, yeah, but he doesn't really mean it. He's not really going to do it. Fox News last night.
4 American F-16 fighter jets are en route to Egypt as part of a foreign aid package that some Republican lawmakers believe should be reconsidered in light of a history of anti-Semitic remarks by Egypt's President Mohamed Morsi, the former head of Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood.
Dear brothers, we must not forget to nurse our children and grandchildren on hatred toward those Zionists and Jews and all those who support them.
Morsi also mocked President Obama after his 2009 Cairo speech.
He uttered many lies, of which he couldn't have fulfilled a single word, even if he were sincere, which he is not.
The U.S. military aid package, part of a deal struck with then Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak in 2010, includes 16 F-16s and 200 Abrams tanks. Some members of Congress fear Egypt's Islamist leaders could one day use the U.S.-made weapons against Israel.
I am scared to death that Israelis that I have met as I've been around the country there, people that are fighting for Israel, which to me it's a forward outpost for us. They're going to die because this administration sent the weapons to kill our allies.
That's Louis Gohmert. How about, do you remember this infamous dialogue between a 3-year-old and a television presenter? This was 8 years before Morsi's remarks. Presenter, do you like Jews? Now remember, this is a 3-year-old. Do you like Jews? 3-year-old, no. Why don't you like them? Jews are apes and pigs. Who said that? Our God said it. Where did he say it? In the Quran? The presenter responds approvingly. No parents could wish for Allah to give them a more believing girl than she. May Allah bless her, her father, and her mother. This conversation, by the way, was not caught on a hidden camera or taped by propagandists. It was featured on a government program, or a prominent program, rather, called Muslim Women Magazine and broadcast by Iraqqa, the popular Saudi-owned satellite channel. And then there was the phone call that we got from the Marine father, whose name and location have been changed. This is John in Canton, Ohio. Go ahead, John, you're on the air.
Yes, hello, Quinn. Great to be on your show. I've got some rather critical information to share with you about the Benghazi attacks. Mm-hmm. I'm a United States Marine. Also, my son is a United States Marine. He just got home from leave not long ago, and one of the things that happened aboard his ship, they were off the coast of Libya. They were at about a 2-hour response time to Benghazi. The commander of the Marines on board that ship was on the phone through the Pentagon via to the White House, talking directly to Obama. This is how my son was debriefed. In the course of the conversation, the commander explained to Obama he could be there, have the ambassador out, and have the embassy secured within 2 hours. He was told personally by President Obama to stand down, no action.
Well, we heard that General Ham was ready to go and was going to ignore the order to stand down and was relieved as soon as he said that. And also the admiral in the Mediterranean, whose name I never can pronounce, what we hear is that he was ready to join with General Ham in disobeying the order. He was also relieved of his command. Now, have you heard any of that?
No, I haven't heard that he's been relieved of command. It may not be that great of a knowledge that he debriefed some of the more junior troops that he wasn't supposed to debrief, but from what my son had said, he was very upset, very distraught over those orders that, he's to stand down.
All right, so we got about 30 seconds left. So to review here, your son is on a ship off the coast of Libya within 2 hours striking distance, and who gets the phone call again?
The commander of the Marines.
On board the ship?
On board the ship.
Gets a call?
Talking via the Pentagon to the White House, directly to President Obama, and President Obama was the one that told him to stand down.
Thank you, sir. I got to go. I'm out of time. Thank you for your service, and hopefully this phone call will go viral on the Internet. Now, granted, anybody can call here and say anything. But I bought into this guy's sincerity because he really didn't want to go on the air until we changed his name and his city of origin. And it does dovetail with some of the stories that we've heard. I don't know. How many times do I have to say it? We've elected the enemy.